Hello, it's Ranger Russ coming to you from Topsmead State Forest. This is a very special program. You can see the state up. Great place to do some hiking. There are lots of trails out here, some really beautiful fields. I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to start walking. We'll go and see what we can find along the way. So let me just flip the camera. All right, I'm going without my microphone today, so hopefully it's okay. And I still haven't gotten the stabilizer hooked up. So we're gonna just walk along and see what we can find. First of all, let's take a look here. This is a beautiful grove of white pine trees. Absolutely gorgeous, some really big old white pine. You can see this beautiful field here. Now I imagine in the summer there's some really beautiful wildflowers and plants growing out here throughout this park. There's a lot of big open fields here at Topsmead. So let's head into these trees. We'll see what we can find. If you guys want to put up questions anytime, also you can post where you're messaging me from. I really like to see where everybody's sending this from. Now look, we can see some hemlocks. Those low trees in the back here are hemlock. They form a little perimeter around the edge. There's a hemlock there as well. Some really beautiful trees. Now I would expect that this is a great place to find an owl's nest. And typically when you're looking for an owl's nest, you're not going to be looking up in the trees. Okay, you look on the ground for owl pellets or whitewash. And if they're regularly going to a spot, there's going to be some residuals left behind. Now, I wanted to look at this over here. On my way out here, I stopped. This looks like the stump of a ash tree. Unfortunately, the emerald ash borers are killing a lot of our ash trees. That's an invasive beetle, and it gets into the tree and it will kill the tree. But I counted the rings. Now, ash is a fast-growing tree. So if you look at this, you're going to say that's going to be a pretty old tree, right? That's a pretty large stump. I actually counted 72 rings on this tree, and they're pretty nicely spaced. So this was a nice old ash tree. Really cool. There's another hemlock there. Now, if you watch the Devil's Hop Yard program, we talked about the Williodalgia, which is another invasive insect that gets in, kills those trees. They've developed a resistance though, so they're coming back. The ash does not have a resistance to the emerald ash borer. So you can see there are a lot of branches on the ground. That's one of the things that's very common from white pines. They do break off a lot. They grow fast, they grow big, they drop lots of branches, they drop lots of sap, they drop lots of needles. So maybe not the best to have near a parking lot, but it's okay over here. You can see the estate there. So Topsmead State Forest was a summer residence of Miss Chase. She got the land, 16 acres, from her father in 1917. She left it to the state of Connecticut in 1972 when she passed away. This was a farm. They raised just about everything here. At one time they did have draft horses, which I found interesting. I always love the big horses. But they had cattle, sheep, chickens, lots of different crops were grown here. So this would have been, at the time, all of this field area would have been farming. Crops. Oh, take a look at this. This looks like ironwood. Or hop hornbeam, I think, is the other name for ironwood. It's a very dense tree. It doesn't get large, but it's a dense, hard hardwooded tree. Another beautiful, that's a big hemlock in the back there. That's gorgeous. All right, I hope I'm not moving this around too much for you. So I really encourage people to get out. State parks are very popular right now because everybody's in isolation. So visit a state forest. There are plenty of beautiful state forests around the state. So get out and find a new place to hike. And if you find a great place to hike, let me know about it, because I would love to visit a place that I haven't been before. And Topsmead is actually, I've been to parts of Topsmead, but I've never come to this part of Topsmead. So if you look down there, there's a little pond. Now they did groom this area. There were lots of gardens and plantings in the area when it was an estate. Oh, take a look. There's a little skunk cabbage growing up here. So this pond is created. There's a little dam that created the pond, and there are lots of cultivated flowers around the edge. You can see the daffodils from here. I'm not going to go all the way down to the pond. It's a little cool today. I was hoping get a little bit of sun. We might run into a turtle or something down there. Look, there's some violets growing out here in the field. All right, and again, if you come back here in the summer, I imagine that there are beautiful wildflowers growing all through these fields. Let's take a stroll up, get a estate. So I was reading a little bit about the building, and it actually, has a slate roof. There's a lot of oak on the inside, oak floors. Terracotta, they have some terracotta in there. They called it polished terracotta floors in some places. So we're going to walk over there and get a closer look. Now, Topsmead is the name of the forest. This was known as Topsmead Farm or Topsmead Estate. And Topsmead just means it's a shortening of top of the meadow. So you can see the house was put on the top of the meadow. We should probably talk about the forsythia. Okay, this is another invasive. People love the way it looks though. It gets this beautiful yellow color. To me it always looks sort of twiggy and not as much of a shrub, more thinner and leggy, but people do like it. The problem is when you go to try and get rid of it, it's just going to keep popping back up, and it's going to keep spreading. You can see they mow around it, trying to contain it. It will just keep on growing. Wow, another big hemlock. There are some, so these trees would have been planted, they're along a road here. So this obviously was a planting. A lot of times in Connecticut, we call the trees along the edge of a field or farmed area, we call them wolf trees, a lone wolf, because they grow so big and majestic and all by themselves. Now, we talked about on our Cedar Island walk, if anybody wants to go back and look at our past programs, you can go to the Virtual Learning Center at megspointnaturecenter.org or visit the Megs Point Nature Center YouTube channel, and you can see. But we did a Cedar Island talk about how trees grow differently when they're out in open sun versus shaded by other trees. So we look at this, we can obviously tell with the low branching and the thick trunk that this tree was growing in the sun its whole life. It didn't have to compete with other trees, so it wasn't reaching tall to try and get the sunlight. It was spreading out from an early point. All right. This kind of reminds me of Harkness Memorial State Park. Harkness has some beautiful gardens. I think that we're definitely going to have to visit Harkness on one of my excursions. Look at this, is a beautiful, feels almost like we're in Europe on a cottage mountain. Someone is asking why they still sell forsythia in stores. With most invasive species, it has to get on a list, a banned list, and many times when they do get on that banned list, they hybridize it so it's a different species and is no longer banned. This is a really neat building. I'm loving the slate roof. We've got some brick on this outbuilding. Look at this, is so cool. I imagine this is a pretty garden in the summertime. Look at this place. So as far as I could tell, Miss Chase did not ever marry. The Chase family ran a brass business out of Waterbury. At one time, Waterbury was the brass capital of the world. So that's where they got their money, and this was her summer residence. This is neat. Linda says that this is one of her favorite places. I never knew that it had the building like this. I knew there was a building, but this is a really cool structure. I would love to tour it inside sometime. So we're going to continue to walk around. Let's take a look at the view from this cottage. Christina's asking if they give tours. I don't know if they do. I know that this forest has a friends organization, and usually friends organizations do things like tours. So I'm gonna guess that at some point they do an open house or something. I think it would be a really cool thing if they did. Look at those pretty flowers. So I usually don't look a whole lot at the flowers in a garden. I don't know a lot about, I call them ornamentals. I don't know about the ornamental plants. I'm always looking at the flowers out in the field or in the woods. Although a lot of times they start growing out in the fields. Looks like some lilac here, some nice apple trees. Look at oh, this is awesome. Look at the road of apple-lined trail here, path. Very, very cool. The gutters, actually, I think that they said that the gutters are lead. So look at that gutter work though. They spent a lot of time on this building. Sort of the stucco on the side. It looks more like concrete than stucco. Look at these plants growing right in there. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but a robin just flew out of here. So I'm gonna guess up in here there's gonna be a robin's nest. We're gonna try not to disturb them too much. I just wanna, yeah, take a look at that. There's a little robin's nest. I'm gonna see if I can take a look. You guys tell me you see any eggs in there, and then we're gonna leave. I don't know if you can see in there. Alright, you'll let me know if there were eggs in that nest, but we don't want to disturb them. She's going to come right back, see if I did anything to her eggs. Look at those windows. Looks like metal windows, metal framed windows. The lilac is coming close to blooming. That's one of the natives that I know. And that's because it was my grandmother's favorite plant. I would have to pick them for her. They usually bloom around Mother's Day, so every Mother's Day I would pick lilacs from my grandmother, and her house smelled like lilac for that weekend. A little screen porch there. This is the other side of that wall we came in on. I think these are periwinkles, these flowers. Oh, it's a dead end. All right, I think we're gonna go out towards the road. If anyone has any questions, please post them. And I'm really going to encourage you to come out and visit Connecticut state parks and forests. There's well over 100. I've actually lost track. I think I lost track at like 114 parks. Oh, look at this. Looks like they could do some educational programs in here. I've never seen this. There's a map of the park. Everybody should, when you come out. There are actually some really fantastic, if you go to the DEP's website, there's a history of all of the parks. You can get maps of the parks. Each individual park has a little section on the website. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that information. I am coming to you from Topsmead State Forest. Look at this beautiful road. So this is not a public road. You can see there's a gate down there. Down there is where the parking lot is, so you can park there and then go out and hike these beautiful trails. There's the maintenance yard there. On the other side of that is a private residence, so please don't go wandering off in that direction. But off in this direction, you can go hiking. There's another dirt road over here. You can go hiking over here. There's a pond trail that goes around the pond. I'm not sure where I want to go here. Anybody have any questions? Somebody's talking about an invasive, but I don't know what that one is. Is it one of the ones we were looking at in the garden? Oh, look at this. This would be such a cool spot when these flowers are all in full bloom. The wildflowers out in the fields. I think this is going to have to be a place I come back. And with these nice roads, it looks like a nice place to ride your bike. Look at how far you can see down that road. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another one of my my gallivants out into the fields here. And next week we're going to do the same thing. We'll be doing my favorite animal at 11 o'clock Tuesday through Friday, and then our 2 o'clock program, we'll do a craft one day, we'll do a story, I'll visit another park. I'd really like to go out and talk about one of the plants at Hammonasset. I showed it when we walked by it on the Cedar Island walk, and I didn't know what it was at the time, and then afterwards my friend Bob Kukta, our tree guy, told me what it was, and I was like, oh, I knew that. It was the shad bush. So I want to do a whole program on the shad bush. It's a really interesting tree. So we're going to do that next week. So again, next week, Tuesday to Friday at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Enjoy these programs, share them with your friends, like them, follow them, whatever you have to do to let people know how much fun you can have watching these programs, going out into state parks, Remember to keep your faces covered if you can't keep your social distance. And there we go. Let's look at the little cottage there. Boy, that looks like something out of a movie, doesn't it? All right. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next week.